Hey YouTubers, it's Michael back with The Chosen and Beyond. So today, Season 2, Episode 5, Spirit. Gonna do an in-depth review of this episode. This is a really powerful episode. I really like it. There's a couple different reasons I like this one. There is some controversy with this episode, and I think that has to do with Mary Magdalene. Although she's been saved, you'll see as we break down the scene, she sees some Roman soldiers. They also run into the possessed man. So combination of those two things, she leaves the disciples for a time to escape. And so there is that controversy with that and the sin, and once you're saved, whether or not sin will still be in your life. Now that we're on Season 5 of The Chosen, looking back on Season 2, I feel like there's a lot more controversial stuff that you can look at there, or at least there are things that are up to interpretation a lot more than this episode. But for me, what I really love about this episode is the meeting of John the Baptist and Jesus. We were just introduced to Simon the Zealot. Remember, he's looking for Jesus. He's going through the wilderness. He encounters a man who's possessed by evil spirit. He follows him to the disciples' camp. But also, we have Jesus leaving with the disciples, coming back to camp from Jerusalem at the same time. And then we have John the Baptist, who's also looking to speak with Jesus. So you get to see John the Baptist and Jesus speak and talk, and it makes sense to me because we know that John gets arrested by Herod, right? So he's basically going to Jesus to say, hey, Herod has divorced his wife and is going to marry his brother's ex-wife, and we know that doesn't go well for John, right? So I think it makes sense that he probably told his cousin about this before he went and did it. Makes sense to me. I don't think he sent a carrier pigeon. I think probably went to talk to him. So it makes sense to me. So I love the additional storytelling components of this episode, just getting us to where we know what's going to happen next within the gospel, right? We know these things are going to happen. So very exciting, very powerful. We also get the two Simons meet together. So there's a lot going on in this episode. There is a few scriptures that are really amazing in here, right? So we have Simon the Zealot as he's in the woods and he's camping out. He has a very beautiful morning prayer that he reads, which is thanking the Lord for his soul and that it will be preserved. So that's really beautiful. That's called the Elokai Neshamah, which is a recognition that the soul is a divine gift from God. So that's a really cool prayer. And during that discussion with John and Jesus, there's a really powerful moment where John the Baptist is like, are you ready for this? Now that we're here, you feel ready? I'm going to go do what I got to do. I grew up listening to my father's prophecy about what I would do, and that's pretty powerful. And I think we see that in Season 4. And then he says, oh, and then your mother's song. So we know that, I want to say that's from Luke, but that's captured, and that's very powerful. So they're kind of talking about these big, moments that are captured already in scripture. They're really powerful. And he's saying, are you really ready? Do you feel ready? And so I want to say that's a tie-in to, so we know in Luke, Gabriel speaks to Zechariah and tells him that his son will go before him in the power and spirit of Elijah. So there's a tie into Elijah, and I believe that's to Malachi 4. Yeah, so I knew that was somewhere in there. So there's also tie into that, where it says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the hearts of the children to their fathers. So this is I've seen references to this being like an Elijah-like figure that will be sent, that Malachi is talking about, that someone will come in a representation of Elijah before the Messiah comes. So I believe that not only are we tying that to Luke 1, where we know about the prophecy given to Zechariah, John's father, by Gabriel, but there's a kind of a tie-in here to Malachi 4. So I had to look at my notes for that because that's a lot of stuff there. But anyway, so let's get into this episode. Let's get started. We'll break down the scene by scene. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so for this first scene here, we're going to look at, we see Mary Magdalene, and she's picking fruit near the campsite where the disciples are camping. And she's reading the passage that Matthew had received from Philip in the previous episode. If I ascended to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. So that's Psalm 139. And basically, it's a reminder that God is with us at our highest and lowest moments. But for Mary, unfortunately here, the piece doesn't last too long. Suddenly, Mary hears some noise as a Roman soldier on horseback approaching. And so she's very shocked here. She freezes. It's a terrifying moment for her. It's tied to her trauma in the previous season where she had an attack from a soldier. So this is very unsettling for her, and she's not able to really find comfort in her prayer. And so what happens, it's just the two soldiers are meeting, they're patrolling, they just for a moment have a quick discussion, and then they leave. But the impact here, unfortunately, is to Mary. She breaks down, her pain is unspoken here, and it's a reminder that healing takes time, right? Even if when we follow Jesus, we're still going to carry our past with us. It's not something that's just going to go away. As we move forward here, we see across town, we see Jesse, and he's being questioned by Shmuel and Rabbi Yanni here. The two of them are quite funny, and their interrogations, they're not very good interrogators, actually. They're smart men, and they may know the laws and all these things, but they're really bad interrogators, which I just find hilarious. But they're basically, so they're questioning him, they're interrogating poor Jesse and saying, tell us more what you know. And Jesse's pretty much tells him, say, listen, if you not been yelling at me, maybe you would have been able to speak to him yourself. But I'm more interested in my legs being healed and going to find my brothers. I can't really tell you anymore. So it's funny just watching the two of them try to get more information where they can. So meanwhile, Jesse's exiting the city. So I guess this was in Jerusalem, right? And so the Atticus, of course, the cohort de urbanae here is waiting outside for him. And he's outside the temple and he knows what's going on, right? He's got intelligence. He's got sources all around the town. He knows there was some type of healing. He knew that he obviously was already following Simon, knew that he was looking for another person of interest, right? So he knew there was something going on. So he uses this opportunity to befriend Jesse and say, hey, listen, it's safe here. You can tell me, do you understand you were healed? Do you have friends or family? Of course, he knows already that Simon's probably likely a family member. And so, so Jesse confirms that his brother believes in the rabbi, and he believes that he must be the Messiah. So now Atticus has some intelligence to go work on and to find this Jesus and start tracking him down. So really interesting there. So then as we move forward, this is a really powerful scene. I remember seeing this for the first time and thinking, what a beautiful prayer. Simon Z, he's a really cool character. He's very meditative, right? He meditates, he's got his martial arts skills, but he's also very spiritual, right? He's a part of the religious order. They're just more of an extreme group. And so he's doing this prayer in the morning, which I looked up. I had to look this up. It's called the Elokai Neshamah. I probably murdered that, but I'm going to put it in the description. So if you want to learn more about that prayer and how to spell it and everything, I'll break that down. I'll put that in the description. But basically, this is a morning prayer that was a typical prayer done by the Jewish people, and it basically a traditional prayer that was recited, and it was really beautiful. But it basically just says, my God, the soul you've placed with me is pure. You created it, you formed it, you breathed it into me, and you will restore it. It goes on a little bit more, and you will take it away from me when the time has come. But really, it's just about the purity of the soul. It's a divine gift from God, our creator. And also that there's a restoration, and that kind of foreshadows the upcoming resurrection. So what he understands is that it's a gift, right? Our lives are a gift, everything is a gift from God, and he is waking up in the morning and in gratitude, recognition of God's presence in his life. So it's a really beautiful scene here. So it goes forward a little bit more in that he is practicing his martial arts. He starts the morning with his prayer, but then he moves into his physical training. His movements are disciplined, controlled. He sees the body as part of his devotion to God, right? He is a warrior. He's a warrior preparing for his holy mission. But then something happens, and he packs up camp, and as he's walking through the forest looking for the disciples' camp, he runs into this man who's out in the wilderness. There's some strange noises coming by, and he realizes that this man is possessed. The possessed man says to him, I sense something strange about you. Were you near someone holy recently? So there's already some foreshadowing there that Jesus' presence is going to leave a lasting effect. The evil spirit that's possessed this man is already sensing that here. He just tells him to go on his way. He's not able to help him. And if he's able to speak and have lucid moments, that's better off, safer with the evil spirit within him. So as we move forward, we see the disciples here, and they're walking and they're talking. They just left Jerusalem right after the healing at the pool. And they're like, I think John said he would be near the Jordan, so we should probably be able to find him there. And then, of course, he jumps out. He's in the bushes hiding. It was quite tricky getting this shot because he jumps out so quick, it's hard to catch it, but yeah, he jumps out in the joke to just scare everybody, so that was really funny. And I think the actor who plays John the Baptist here, David Amito, he's really good. Did have a really quick chance to meet him just for a moment or two in the Chosen Con, and he's a really cool dude. But I really like his character. I really feel like he does a really good job here of, how hard it must have been. You had to be someone who lived in the wilderness. You had to be a devout person, and you probably had to have good storytelling skills and probably good humility, because otherwise you'd lose your mind. To be out in the woods all the time with guys, you probably developed a good ability to tell stories and to have some humility in those stories. So I think that's the best way where they portray him as a serious guy, but also with a good humor. I really like that. And the portrayal here, so he jumps out, there's a little bit of laughter. John the Baptist says to Jesus, I heard about the healing at the pool. I loved it. They're going to come hard after you. So they're just chatting there. In the meantime, nearby, but not right where they are, but nearby, Simon has discovered the disciples' camp, and he's just watching people walk around. He is not sure what to make of it because he's not sure what to expect. And so moving forward, John the Baptist and Jesus sit down, begin a more deeper conversation. And John is, hey, did you hear what happened with Herod? He's unlawfully marrying his brother's ex-wife. John's very upset about this, and he wants to confront Herod directly and let him know that his actions are unlawful. And Jesus is like, are you sure you want to do that? And he's like, John, listen, Herod's actually afraid of me because some people think I might be Elijah. And so I really like the scene because this is very cool tie-in to, so Malachi 4, but also we'll go into New Testament. But in Malachi 4 here, behold, I will send Elijah the prophet before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the hearts of the children to their fathers. So that's Malachi 4. So basically saying there will be an Elijah-like figure as a forerunner to the Messiah, right, as laying the way. So it's hard to interpret the whole Testament. I don't claim to be really great at it, but that's what I take out of it. There's going to be some kind of person who's going to come before Messiah comes. And if you read the New Testament, that happens, and very clearly that's described and we know this in Luke, that he will come in the spirit and power of Elijah, right? So that's in Luke 1:17. So that is also captured in the Chosen a little bit further ahead, but it's very powerful, and we know that an angel speaks to John's father. So his acts will be through, the Spirit will be with him. Elijah's Spirit will be with him and help guide him. So it's very powerful there. And I think I said that David just does a great job of portraying John the Baptist. Yeah, so Jesus, I loved Jonathan's response here, but obviously he says, maybe not Elijah himself, but definitely connected. There's an Elijah-ness related, definitely connected to the role. And so that's that connection to the Luke 1 we just talked about, where the angel tells Zechariah, John's father, that he will come in the power and spirit of Elijah. So it's really a powerful scene. And we get to see that later when I want to say that season 4, we'll get to that coming up. Yes. So then move a little bit forward here, and Jesus explains to him, he says, look, I'm just trying to lay low right now. That's why I'm in these small towns, because John had some questions about that. John just kind of laughs and says, he understands the way to what's coming. He gets it. He's working on something. He's also working on a big sermon. So he explains that to him. And then, but this scene here, really powerful. There's so much in it, but it's very casually portrayed here. And I almost nervous going to this, but Jesus starts to get reflective. And John says to him, it's one thing to grow up hearing about this and hearing my father's message that he received from the angels and the prophecy that was given to my father and your mother, and then Jesus' mother's song. So they're referring to the song in the Gospels that's captured later. Those are two really powerful things, and they have a lot of deeper meaning in them. So I just thought it was amazing that they tackled that. But basically, John the Baptist is saying, man, are you ready? I've been thinking I've been ready, but I'm not sure. Am I really ready? And are you really ready? And Jesus, of course, responds with, I'm always ready to do my Father's will, but that doesn't make it easy. So even Jesus here is admitting that the path is hard, right? It is a glimpse to the burden of the Messiah here. But just the casual conversation, the way they dropped it, I thought was really well done. So we move forward here a little bit. We have Mary Magdalene. She's back at the camp, and she's just doing a reading and writing with Rhema. And then all of a sudden she gets you hear an unusual sound. She feels a pain in her head, and she realizes that a possessed person is coming. She's got experience with this. As they come out of the tent, and Matthew and Thomas are there to help protect, and the possessed person, and Mary actually stands her ground and says, hey, tell me your real name. I'm not going to allow you to hurt these people. Mary's done the best she can here, but really she's not strong enough yet to face this alone. So luckily Simon Z has been right. We know he was waiting in the woods there. So he jumps in. He already knows this guy. He saw him earlier. He's not letting anything happen to these people. And so he's ready to do battle here. And but before this can happen, the possessed man was able to jump on Simon Z, but not before Jesus can come in and pretty much just say, get out of him. And immediately the evil spirit is removed. So it's a really powerful episode. I'm skipping a few scenes where, just trying to keep it a little bit more, focusing a little bit more on the good and not so much of the imagery of the possession. I'm just trying to avoid that a little bit here. But really, this is really powerful. This is the first miracle that John has witnessed. So John's, I love this scene with his arm pumping. And he's super psyched. He's like the biggest cheerleader, biggest spiritual soldier of Jesus right now. It's his cousin John. So we would love seeing him get to witness a miracle. And then there's a lot going on here. And so John's, realizes, hey, he's like, when did you pick up a zealot? So this is really cool. And just a little bit of a chuckle saying, when did the zealot show up? That's a really cool scene. So we move forward back to Shmuel and Yanni. And although they are portrayed quite a bit in this episode, I'm going to keep it to a minimum. Because really, they're just investigating Jesus, right? They're investigating him. They go to speak to this official, and they want to update the report, and they find out that Nicodemus already had this report closed. Nicodemus took care of this already so that Jesus can continue his mission, his ministry. So back to the group, and Simon the Zealot and Jesus have had a little talk here. He pretty much immediately realizes that he says, you must be Messiah if you heal my brother. He says, yes, I am. He kneels down to him, and he says, I will do whatever you ask me to do. And in a really beautiful way, Jesus just says here, I want you to understand my mission. All right. And he says, how do I do that? And so he looks at his dagger, his sacred dagger, he throws it away, and he says, you don't need that. And he says, I have a better sword, you will see. So this is like a nod to Ephesians 6, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, right? So the word is going to be the Spirit, right? The sword is going to be the gospel, right? The gospel is going to be the word of God, and it will become the sword. So there's many references to the sword and also things like armor and things as we go through the New Testament and Old Testament as they sync up. But they finish this, and we know what's going on. The Roman soldier here, the Roman investigator Atticus, he's been watching. He retrieves the dagger from the water, and his investigation is far from over. So we know he's following them. And fast forwarding here just a little bit, Mary was really shaken by the possessed man entering the camp. She tailed out of there very quickly, actually. You see her kind of disappear in the background, going to the woods. And then they show her later. You can see she's going to a nearby town to get some escape from this. So this is going to lead up to the next episode where the disciples are looking for her. But then here we just have Jesus going to say goodbye to John, and he's saying that soon I'll be breaking my silence here, and I'll be doing what you're doing. And I love this because we always make a joke about the word soon, and John says back, he laughs, he goes, soon, such a strange word, could mean anything. So calling back to many of their episodes where soon is on God's timing, not ours. It's really funny. And I love every time they drop that. So he says goodbye there, and then Jesus knows this is probably the last time he's going to see him. So and then back at the camp, we have we have Simon Peter introducing Simon Z to the rest of the disciples. It's a new beginning for him, but quickly notices Mary is not there. So he's like, wait a minute, where's Mary? I can't introduce you to her. So they go quickly to find Jesus. Matthew kind of tags along, and Jesus says, listen, go find Mary. Simon, take Matthew with him. You're going to need him. And what was that passage that you were discussing with Philip? He says, make sure you take that with you. So that was just in the beginning. It was always Psalms 139. God is with you in the depths. God is with you when you ascend to heaven. So that's really powerful. And so that wraps up this episode. So there was just a lot of character and story development. There was definitely some good scriptures. I think we'll put all those in the descriptions. We had some great, obviously, from Luke and Ephesians, but there were some really good ones there. But mostly this episode was just about how everyone's lives is being changed as they start to follow Jesus. So we're getting closer to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, which is going to be a huge impact and really start to alert the other leaders of his presence, where right now he's still flying under the radar. But a lot of great story development, really excited, almost done wrapping up season 2 here. Just have a few more episodes, then we'll get to season 3. Really enjoyed doing these. walkthroughs with you. It is Easter weekend, so happy Easter to everyone. And I think this is the last chance to see season 5 in theaters if you want to see it. So I will make sure I put the links in the description where you can purchase tickets and go see it in the theater. Personally, I have seen parts 1 and 2. I haven't had a chance to see part 3 yet, so I'm going to try to do that, but excited to see it. And thank you again for joining us today on The Chosen and Beyond. Please watch The Chosen at thechosen.tv. Links will be in the description. Hope you have a very blessed Easter Sunday, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.